Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you're listening to
Girls Nerd Out. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for coming back and welcome to anyone that is new. I am here with
Hello.
my best friend Andrea,
Hello.
and we are incredibly excited to talk to you about this episode, which is called Doomed to Die.
I really like that title, to be honest. I've liked every single title since the show began. First season, second season, it's great.
Well, they were very smart to choose titles just based on the quote about the One Ring. I love that. And there's a lot that goes on in this episode, and a lot of it goes by really quickly. So,
Yes.
yeah, so first scene, we're at Eregion,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Celebrimbor looking like the Nine Rings for Men are either finished or really close to being finished.
Yes.
And I wondered why the mouse was like zoomed in on and we're seeing like this mouse like more than one time. I was like, that's got to mean something. Of course, we don't know right now. Did you notice that? Because it reminded
Yeah.
me of the rats in House of the Dragon.
Yeah, the second time, I mean, it kind of gave me that feel, but when I saw it the second time, I was like, it's literally doing the same thing it did the first time. That is interesting because like they're focusing on it for a reason. So then when we see it again, that's when you realize, okay, yep, this is a pattern.
Yep. We know as viewers that what Celebrimbor is seeing is a fantasy made by Sauron, made to look perfect. I thought it was really interesting that if it's something that he hasn't thought about, then there might be some chips in the paint or like a little spot in the armor, and it's the mirror because he
Yeah.
looks in the mirror and Celebrimbor looks like hell. I thought that was cool. I like
Really
that.
good acting reaction too. Like it, and then like the Feanor's hammer was missing
Yeah.
a ruby, and then when he looks at it, again when we see Anatar come in the room, it's fine. It's perfectly like how it should be.
So that means that Sauron can go around doing whatever he wants and he can maintain magic in another location, which I think is really fascinating. And if there is an error, he can fix it quickly.
Yeah. So at first I thought, okay, is this just another one of his like messing with him? But then at the same time, I think it was just an error, like the chips, because eventually you see the chips, like you said, like with the mouse and then a
Yeah.
candle.
If it's something that he hasn't planned for, then little things can happen, but we'll get more into that. Oh, I did want to mention this.
Hmm.
So apparently Sauron has him in that little daydream area, but he's also doing things with his mind because Celebrimbor actually says, I feel a clarity I haven't felt in years. It's like duplicity. He's making him not pay attention to the outside, but he's also giving him focus, which I thought that was very layered and interesting.
But it's funny that he says that when Anatar's like, you know how forgetful you can be. And I'm like, what?
Yep. So he's giving him specific focus. Focus on
Yes.
making rings. That's where the focus is.
I did want to say really quick, I really liked the process of seeing the rings being made. I thought that was really cool and really cool detail that they added.
Yeah, it basically explained to us why it's taking so long. It's not just the mithril. Like he's crafting these and it takes a lot. So then we see that Eregion is basically half destroyed?
Yeah, Anatar is walking around with chaos, like everything's being blown up. Rocks
It
are
looks
being thrown
bad.
at them.
It's bad.
Without a
Very
care in the
bad.
world.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, okay, Celebrimbor's fine, so I'm just going to walk around this pretty much destroyed place and all these people freaking out.
I think the visuals are pretty awesome, though. Like, they just really look really good. It looks like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of panic. The acting, the people in the background, the acting is amazing.
they did very, very well. And did you notice that when we're at Eregion, you get the feeling there's a lot of people there, which is something you and I have had issue with House of the Dragon. And a little bit in Game of Thrones that we'll be at a castle and it feels like there's only 5 people there.
I don't know why that is. I wish we could have gotten that.
Yeah, it's something about placement. I really feel like it is. I feel like it's just a thing that you have to have people in certain areas moving a certain amount. And I think they did really well with that in this episode.
Yeah, and I really like this scene because Myrjania comes up to Anatar and says, "Hey, what's going on? Like, is Lord Celebrimbor going to do anything about this? Because, we're at war now." And he's like, "Lord Celebrimbor refuses to permit a counterattack." And I'm like, "What?" And then says apparently that the river will protect them. And I'm like, "Oh, God."
Oh, no. We get a really short scene, like it's just a moment, and it's Adar and his orcs. They've been waiting for the sun to go down, obviously.
So they're having this conversation when fireballs are being thrown into Region, which I thought was really crazy. But then Anatar says, "We're going to disobey his orders." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, the manipulation, more manipulation. I have to look good."
Oh,
So they're
yeah.
going to.
He definitely does. The siege equipment looked really cool, honestly. The reason Andrea and I sometimes talk about House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is that's our main fandom. I just have to say this. The siege equipment in this is what I expected to see in season 8 of Game of Thrones for the Log Night. I really did. I feel like that would have been really cool. And obviously that's where my brain went because the season 8 shit show. So this siege equipment looks really cool. And I love the fact that nobody's questioning Anatar about being the Lord of Eregion. They're just like, yes, we will follow you. And he just keeps making Celebrimbor seem nuts. Nuts.
Yeah. You would think that they would know their lord better than this, and they don't seem to. And that's why I want to know, like, how long this has been going on. Clearly it's been going on for a while, but, like, I want to know exactly how long, because it has to be a really long time of doing this.
Yeah, and he's slowly just getting into the minds of all, like, the main people that make decisions. And I thought this was really cool. So they get out this massive siege equipment, the orcs do, and I just think they're gonna, just start hitting
The city.
Eregion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was there to destroy Eregion. No, they turn and they start hitting like what the mountain, I guess. It's like a mountain, and then huge chunks of rock start falling off because they're gonna dam the river.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny how Anatar is like, "Okay, prepare for a ground siege sort of situation." And they're like, "Wait, from across the river?" Yeah.
Doesn't that make you wonder, did he just pick up on that? Or
Yes. I think he picked up on it. I don't think he knew it was going to happen, to be honest.
I still think he's got some sort of
He,
connection with Adar. I
he
think,
might know.
but if he doesn't have it now, I think that connection with Adar might show next episode. Just a guess, just a guess.
I agree with that. And then, like, a little bit before that, they had, like, that little tiny scene with his fangirl. I just wanted to say, I noticed a lot about his body language the last few episodes, and especially this one. I really pay attention to his body language, kind of like what I do with Damon. You know how he's got, like, his walk? Well, like, when she touches him in this scene, he kind of stiffens, kind of
Yep.
looks at her. And the reaction isn't like, I mean, yes, he says some sweet nothings to her. He says, you have proven your quality. When the time comes, I will see to it that you are duly rewarded. And I think that's a foreshadow from what we see later. But the way that his body language is the entire episode, and especially that scene, I'm like, damn, I don't know. I don't think he likes to be touched, to be honest.
You really do pay attention to stuff other people don't pick up on. Okay, so
I
if
have to because I'm obsessed, but yeah.
God knows we're obsessed with plenty of things. It's fine. Okay, so he stiffens, doesn't like to be touched. Didn't seem to mind when Galadriel did it though.
I know. And that's why I also made a little comment saying I think when she does touch him again, he won't act like this, because it's just whenever somebody gets near him, he just acts oddly. And then compared to her, it's not like that. I think he's got the hotspur still, and he knows this girl's not her. She's nothing like her.
I think he does too. I think he met his match with Galadriel. He met somebody that would question him and push back. I think he cares for her on whatever level he can, which
Yeah.
is, I don't really know. I'm not a Maya that fell from grace. So I'm not really sure how much heart he has, but if he does have any, then yeah, there's something there. So we get a really quick scene back to Celebrimbor because he's starting to realize that he is in Groundhog's Day and he marks a candle. And that's all we get. So we know he's definitely starting to pick
He's
up on stuff.
I was like, it's almost laughable that Celebrimbor is in a sunny room working on jewelry while this is all going on, and he has no clue. But then you realize he does. He knows something's up
Yeah.
at least.
But we don't know how long Groundhog Day has been for him because the Region looks really bad. I guess it's a while. After that, we go to see the dwarves.
Yeah.
Okay, King Durin, who is completely controlled by the ring at this point. There is nothing left of who he used to be. He is just about greed. That he is the
Yep.
personification of greed, basically. This is my question for you. King Durin is angry because they come in and tell him, "Hey, we can't mine." And this was my question. How are two people stopping them from mining?
It's probably the location, and also, I think it's because they don't really want to hurt them to like get past them, like because it seems like they would have to force them to do it. It doesn't seem like they want to do that.
Oh, that makes sense.
They're obviously noticing there's something definitely wrong with their king, so I don't think they're really trying to do what he wants.
He's making strange requests and he just isn't acting like himself at all.
They're losing money by not doing anything, and he's saying that while he's pretty much covered in gold.
Yep.
It's like, your greed is bad. Oh, it's bad.
It's endless. It is completely endless. And that's what the rings do. They magnify because the dwarves do have greed. And it is magnified so many times with him. There is nothing that will stop it. He can't have enough.
He does send people to go down there, and I honestly felt like we were going to get a dwarf fight, but I'm glad that we didn't.
I was really surprised because so King Durin says, "Go down there and take care of my son and Disa." They go
Yeah.
down there, and I thought it was going to be a fight, and I was shocked because they stand with Prince Durin immediately.
Yeah. Their king is bad. It's really bad.
Well, you know what I'm starting to realize? The dwarves' loyalty is very important to them. Very. And it makes sense because they're somewhat isolated and they're just around other dwarves most of the time. So it does make sense that loyalty would mean a lot because they have to depend on each other. So the fact that they were so quick to agree and stand with Prince Durin, I thought it was really that was a heavy scene that probably not a lot of people are going to pay too much attention to, but that took a lot of bravery to say, I'm going to defy the king's orders. It
Oh,
did.
yeah.
So then Prince Durin is told, hey, there's an elf here to see you.
I didn't know he was banned by all the dwarven kingdoms.
I didn't either. Do you know why? Because I don't.
No, they didn't say. I mean, is it because of the whole Mithril thing? I mean, please tell me it's not.
I don't know. We are told that there's an elf here to see you, Prince Durin, and we're gonna have to sneak him in because he is banned by all 7 dwarven kingdoms. I don't know why Elrond is banned from every single one. Maybe we'll find out later. I don't know.
I literally like yelled at my TV. I was like, "No, what?" And then when we see Elrond, I was like, "Oh my god, I missed you." And then his armor, God, his armor, the elven armor in this episode is just, whew.
It is. It's good. It's damn
Yes.
good. I will say this. Even though for copyright reasons, they're not allowed to do anything quite the same as the Peter Jackson trilogy, but they have made the Elvish armor be close enough that it resembles what we see in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I love that. It is very, very sleek. It is both gold and silver, and it just looks badass. It just looks badass. You're right.
And I'm gonna have to look at Numenor's armor again, but it looks very similar to Numenor's. So, haha.
Look at you. And see, that makes perfect sense because the Numenorians would have learned to make armor from the
From
elves.
the elves. I like what Elrond says to him. He says to Durin, he says, "My heart sings for you, old friend." And Durin, he has to always be funny. He says, "You title-haired, flowery-tongued flagpole."
That was hilarious. I loved that.
It gives me Legolas and Gimli, although I don't think Legolas and Gimli were nearly as close as Elrond and Durin seem to be, but it's still really funny.
Actually, you are spot on, and let me tell you why. Legolas and Gimli, after we see them in Lord of the Rings, they are that close. So close that Legolas does not want Gimli to die and go somewhere where they can't hang out. So Legolas literally sneaks Gimli over to the Valar, and they're mad. Gimli's not supposed to be in the Undying Lands, and Legolas doesn't care. He's basically like, what are you gonna do now? He's here. So yes, Elrond and Durin are definitely supposed to remind us of those two, and they eventually do get that close. So that was really cool. You noticed that.
It's good character development of Legolas and Gimli, I think, and I always call them my mom and dad. So
Okay, fine, I'll say it. Instead of the hunt for Gollum, I don't know. I think I would rather see the adventures of Legolas and Gimli, honestly.
yes, please. I would cry. I would cry.
Yeah. Yeah, that would actually be a cool story, but yeah. I do like how Prince Durrett he just looks at Elrond and he goes, well, I'm about to overthrow my father. Like, it reminds me of the way I am. Like, I'm just going to say it. Oh, yeah. Hey, guess what? You stopped by to say hello? I'm about to overthrow my dad. Isn't that great?
Yeah, he says that, but then Elrond's like, "But I'm given defeat because without you, we will be defeated." So, like, they need his axe, which I really like. I need your axe, old friend.
And again, we're reminded of Gimli when it's the Council of Elrond and you have my axe, and Elrond literally says, I need your axe, old friend. Oh. You want to talk about the next scene?
We see the orcs. I like the drums. I think that's really cool how they like hype everybody up to like go kill people, basically. The river is like pretty much covered. I like watching them cross the river. And I want to say this. Seeing all the elves lined up on the wall of Eregion, I liked seeing that. And my favorite weapon of all time will always be the crossbow. I'm always obsessed with, well, not crossbow, but bow and arrow. That's my favorite thing to watch. And then they have apparently a Ravager machine thing, which I don't know exactly what a Ravager machine is. I just know that it sticks into the wall, and they try to use that to take down the wall. That's all I know.
Okay, so the Ravager is a combination of a ram and a hook that would rip the wall out from its foundation. Okay, so instead of smashing the wall in, it is something probably like a giant grappling hook that would hook and pull, which makes sense because they're trying to get through the thinnest part of the wall.
We see Celebrimbor. He is sitting down, and Annatar comes in, and he's like asking again, "Are the rings ready?" And he's like, "No, wait a minute." And like he shows, like he waits for the mouse to come out, and the mouse does the same thing that it's been doing. And he looks up at Annatar like, "Huh?" And Annatar is just like, "This is captivating." I thought that was funny. And he's like, "Well, it's repeating itself. It's a cycle. It repeats itself throughout the day." And then he also goes over to the embers, and he starts talking about the embers. I don't know exactly what was going on with the embers. Maybe they just never go out. I don't know. But then he talks about the candles, because the candles are not burning. They haven't burned an inch.
Yep. And the embers, they never have to add anything for the fire. The fire stays the same. Yep, you're right.
That's what I figured.
2 questions we had previously get answered in this episode, so I felt like we were kind of badass on that.
Yes, we were.
Go ahead. That's all I wanted to say. I want to give us cred.
Oh yeah, no, we're awesome.
We are.
So basically, Anatar is just like, you sought peace, I gave it to you. And the smugness on his face, that's also another, like, body language is his face. Like, his face is always gives off a lot away. And Calibrimbar's just like, this is hardly a gift. I wrote, time for the talk, I think. Mom and Dad have to have a talk.
Yeah, basically.
Calibrimbar's like, what have you done to me? And he's like, you welcomed my instruction. You practically begged for it. I'm like, well...
Pretty much. Pretty
No,
much.
no emissary of the Valar would do this. And he's like, what are you? Who are you? I am the one keeping the storm at bay, balancing the very sun above your head. I just love this scene so much because there's so much emotion. And he says, I wanted to give you this one chance to prove your worth. And I'm sorry, but I believe that the worth was the Elven rings. That's just my honest opinion. Then I said, Mom and Dad are yelling at each other because he's like, I want the 9. Give me the 9.
It's so interesting to me because so he's figured it out, and I mean, how long is a Region even going to last? So Anatar is like, man, we don't have a lot of time. I feel like Celebrimbor knows the answer to the questions he's asking when he's like, what have you done to me? You know. And who are you truly? You know. You know. He knew.
But he doesn't really fully say it until a little bit after that.
Yep.
Celebrimbor, he picks up a hammer and throws it out the window, and he hears the screaming and the explosions. Just the acting was just perfect by both of them. And then, like, he goes outside and he sees all the destruction and what's happening, and then he goes back inside and really looks around his own shop. His own shop is a mess, and he's a mess, and he gasps. He audibly gasps as he's seeing, like, what's happening to his workshop.
What got to me was the room he's in is partly destroyed. So that means that Anatar's power is so much that literally big chunks of the wall fell off and Celebrimbor didn't know.
Nope, nothing, absolutely nothing. And Anatar's just standing there like, well, oh well. And I'm like, The Mithril was not Mithril. It was Sauron's blood. I like what he says. I have learned so much from you, but no lesson more lasting than this. Creation requires sacrifice. And he shows his hand. Yeah.
Yeah, because we asked the question, how did he get the Mithril? And then we asked the question, why did he cut his hand?
Now we
Okay,
know.
so his actual black blood is in the rings.
These rings are going to be way worse than the Dwarven rings, that's for sure.
And just my opinion. So the dwarves are going to destroy themselves, and that's what he wanted those to do. These 9, which we know they're going to become Nazgul, he wants them to be subservient. So he put his own black goo blood in it. Those are going to work fast, and it's going to be a lot.
I thought it was really cool, though, like, seeing all that. And, like, the way that he was acting, like, just his facial expression, the way he showed his blood, like, I'm just obsessed. Like, I can't, the acting, like, these two deserve awards, I'm just saying.
Oh, very much. Very, very much.
I like how he's like, you are he. I have many names.
Yeah, you sure do. You sure do.
So Celebrimbor goes outside, and I think it's very interesting that he's, like, just standing there, and then he gets hit by a fireball. He finds Mardania, and he's telling her all this stuff. He's like, I've been deceived. We've all been deceived. He forced me to forge the rings, and he forced me in a prison of the mind. And he seems very crazy, and that's obviously part of the plan, because, you know, she starts to like cringe, and the fact that she's cringing away is just that's just great manipulation. And he's like, you gotta believe me. This is when they stick the hooks into the wall and they try to, you know, take it out. And he's freaking out because this is the thinnest part of the wall. And then Anatar starts coming down. He wants his guards to seize him because he's like, that's Sauron. He's lied to all of you. And she's like, no, he's protecting us. The audacity.
Still, though, it's painful to see.
If we weren't watching this and we were, like, involved in the situation, I would think he was crazy too. And I like how Sauron looks so sheepish. He's like, wait, me? I'm the problem? I'm not the problem. And he eventually tells them, if you don't believe me, cut him open. Look at his blood. It's black as pitch. And damn, the sound I made, because this was not a scene that was ruined for me. I didn't know what to expect. The sound I made when Sauron had this look on his face, like, what? And then he turns his hand around and he's like, you're delusional because look at my hand. I've red blood, not black blood. I was just like, holy. So Myrdania feels for him, Celebrimbor. She puts her hands on him to like try to get him to like leave because he's clearly crazy. He's wrong about everything. And he yells at her to get her hands off of him. And Sauron does this thing with his hand. Like they focus on his hand and you see his hand just move a little bit because you know he's going to use his power. And he knocks her off the roof. Makes it look like Celebrimbor threw her off the roof.
If anybody want to know what Sauron can do, he has the dark side of the Force. He does. So he's doing some mind control and showing his red blood, and he's waiting. And he finds the perfect moment when Celebrimbor is kind of like trying to argue with fangirl Myrdania, and he just flicks his wrist, and she goes over the wall. She's still alive when she hits the ground, and then an orc cuts off her head, I guess.
Oh.
It's a crappy death. It's a very crappy death for her.
I didn't like her, but she didn't deserve it. I like what Anatar says to Celebrimbor after this. He says, all this can end if you finish the 9. I will spare your city if you finish the 9. Celebrimbor asks what he wants done with these rings. Like, what's he going to do? And he smiles, and he says, create a perfect and lasting peace. Yeah.
Yep. And that is the thing about Sauron. Morgoth was pure evil. Sauron thinks that if he controls everything, he can take chaos and make it order. That's what he thinks. He truly believes that too. He believes everything he's doing, every person that dies, it's for the greater good. That's what he's convinced himself of completely.
He's just interesting character.
Yeah. But I like the fact that he's not just pure evil. It's not just evil to do evil to do evil.
He does say he's going to be sad when this is over to him because he enjoyed his time with him. And I believe he did enjoy his time sometimes. So there you go.
Yeah, it's hard for me to know if it's all BS or not, but my instinct says it's not. A lot of it is, but not all.
I didn't believe any of this, that he was BSing Galadriel. I don't believe maybe in the beginning, but I don't think he was after that. After a while, I don't think he was.
After that,
we get the elves. They're here.
We do. The elves are here, and something that I thought was kind of cool. They want to make the elf army look badass, which I am here for. Almost all the horses are white. There's a few that aren't mixed in, but they got a whole lot of white horses for this, and that just makes it look even cooler. It just does. The armor and the horses.
And these horses fight too. Some of them, like that, I've noticed. It's really cool when we do get to the fighting part. But I really like that. And of course, the elves look awesome. I mean, we could see Gilgadaddy all dressed up. He looks fine as heck.
That man has not aged very much at all in the last 20 years. Hats off to him. I don't know how he did it. Maybe he is an elf. But you're right about the horses. And I love that they put that in there because it makes sense. Because, like, elven horses aren't just like a regular horse in Middle Earth. They are more intelligent than other horses. So them fighting back makes perfect sense. Like, we see one, like, kick the shit out of an orc. And I was like, yes. Yes.
What I like about before the elves like charge after the orcs, you know, I like seeing the orcs line up and Adar just comes out in between some of them, and it just looks so cool when he comes out and pops out like that. Like, the actor does so well with this character. He doesn't even have to say anything, and he just gets you interested. You know what I mean? Like, just seeing him pop out in the middle. Like, I like seeing a leader in amongst his people, you know?
Yes, definitely. What
And well, I'm not saying
really?
that Gil Gadaddy definitely cares about his people. There's no
Oh
telling.
yeah.
And it's cool when I see him, when you see him eventually. But like, it's just very cool. And then, when the elves start to come over to the orcs, the light and darkness, like the orcs are in the dark and the elves are in the light. It's just very pretty scene.
It is. And the thing is, it's they did very well. The army feels huge. Feels like a lot of elves. My question is this though. They're all charging and they stop immediately because Adar brings out the cage that Galadriel's in. It seemed like it would have been a lot more difficult to stop an army, but I now that I'm thinking about it, it's elves. So I'm comparing that to like I guess an army of men, but the elves and their horses are different. So all Elrond had to do is say one word and they all stopped. That makes
Yeah,
sense now. It makes sense. It does.
which is which is cool. But like when he sees Galadriel, like his face says it all because it's like, oh shit, well, we better
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah, and she's back in the cage wearing the dress that the orc tailor made for her. And
Oh,
he he's just Elrond just looks very sad. He just looks really bummed out.
well, it makes sense because last episode Adar said that she will be useful later. I guess this is what he meant.
Since I know Adar is one of your faves. So after that, we go to a scene where instead of Galadriel and Adar sitting at that table, it is Adar and Elrond.
I really like this scene. I like what Adar says. He says, "You're more suited to you're a what did he call him, a courtier? What did he say?
Yeah, you're more
Yeah, he said
courtier. You're more,
you're more suited to wielding a scroll than a
yeah,
sword."
yeah, you're more courtier. Basically, hey, you're not a fighter. And then Elrond quickly reminds him, "You never see me do either one."
I
I was like,
just
"Damn."
the sass between the two. It's
I
just
want to ask you something.
yeah.
Adar stands up and he says, "You have the beauty of your foremother, Melion of the Valar."
Hmm.
How the hell does he know that? Who is he?
How old? How
I don't
old is
know.
he?
I don't know. The only thing I can figure is Balerion, it sunk a long time ago. But is he before that?
I bet
How
he
would he
is.
know? He's got to be, because Arondir or Arondir, whichever you'd prefer, he's also from Balerion, but you don't get the vibe that he's as old as Adar. I feel like Adar said that to Elrond to make him, kind of like uneasy, like, oh, by the way, I know who your foremother was. Like, how far back is that?
He also says something at the end that I wasn't like at the very end that we'll talk about that I can't remember the line, but he says something to him that I don't understand. I'm like, what is this? Like it's very old.
Something's
Seems like
getting set up, Andrea. Something is being set up. That line, Elrond doesn't even respond, but that line is there for a purpose. When we find out who Adar is, it's going to be a shock.
yes, there's no way we're not because I'm like, what the frick is going on here? Um,
Exactly.
so Elrond's like, you're attacking Eregion. They have the same enemy,
Yeah.
basically. And he's like, Eregion has fallen into shadow. It belongs to the Deceiver now, as does every elf within its walls. And Elrond's like, well, not Celebrimbor. And he's like, no. Well, Celebrimbor was the one who welcomed him in. And I'm like, yeah, you let him go. What is that? What
Mm-hmm.
is that? What does that mean? Like, you both did bad things. Fine.
Adar seems to be kind of all over the place after this scene. And I guess being face to face with somebody that you despise would do that. But I will say this. Elrond kept his cool really well. He didn't say much. And
Well,
I think he did. He's trying.
But he did say something that caught the orcs' attention, and this is where I felt like the orcs are doing really well with their facial acting, because he says you're going to be painting the sands of the Galandiun black with the blood of your kin. The look on their face, they're like, well, wait, maybe we should talk about this kind of look.
He planted a seed.
He did.
He planted a seed of doubt in the orcs about Adar. And that
Yep.
was very smart, because he's obviously known that Adar is seen as the father of these orcs. And so he points out, well, I mean, you're going to sacrifice them? Really? And it's like the orcs were like, hey, we hadn't really thought about that. Dad? And that will come into play later, I have a feeling. A lot.
It will. So basically, the ring for Galadriel's life, you see him basically say, well, I'm not, I'm not going to give the ring up. So I'm going to see you on the field. Basically, Adar's like, fine, I'll meet you there with her head on the spike. And he's like, well, I'm going to say goodbye to her, right? I'm going to say farewell. You see some kind of tool. He takes off like a pick. Like I would call it a lock pick, I guess.
I looked up to see what it was. It's a pin.
Oh, pin. Okay.
Yep.
So that can still unlock something. That's cool.
Yep.
So he goes over to her. He tells her that to forgive me. And she says to win. And then I don't think she expected this kiss at all. But he kisses her.
He does. And it was the kiss heard all around the Tolkien world. It is making a lot of Tolkien fans very angry.
Yes.
And let's talk about that, because that is probably the most controversial thing that happens in this episode, which is saying something, because they're mad about the orcs having feelings too. There's a lot of anger. Obviously, yes, that kiss is a distraction, but it was not a peck,
No.
but it wasn't making out either. So,
well, they both had their eyes closed, which you want to make it a distraction. But her reaction was, before she looks at him, he's still got his eyes closed afterwards. She has her eyes still closed. So it's like, that to me is tension. Okay, I didn't expect this to go this way, but I liked it. I didn't hate it. And she looked at him shocked. A lot of people said she looked pissed, but I didn't think that. I thought she looked shocked.
I think he did not mind it at all.
No. And I feel like people are going to get mad, but he's not married. I mean, I know at some point he marries a daughter that doesn't exist right now of hers, and yes, she's married, but we don't know what happened to her husband. We have no idea where he is. And I still want her to kiss Sauron, so I don't care.
If you go by book lore, it's the Second Age. She's supposed to be married to Celeborn, and their daughter's already supposed to be born. And that has not happened. A lot of people don't seem to understand that this is a different timeline completely. So we have no idea what's going to go on. For all we know, Celeborn really is dead, and she marries Elrond. I mean, at this point, look, the actors of this show talk about how there are so many trolls. So, I mean, I kind of feel like the actors are like, hey, stay petty. So, you know what? At this point, do what you want to do. There's people shipping them too. So
yeah, and I don't ship them, but I wouldn't be upset if something happened.
Follow the hosts on all social media at Southern Mother of Dragons and at the Princess of Dragonstone.
I really like this Elrond, and I really like Galadriel this season, and that kiss definitely, I didn't expect it. It wasn't on my bucket list, but I definitely was like, okay, this is fine.
Oh, I like what they say though, because Elrond is looking at her and he says, forgive me. And she looks at him and she says, when?
So Durin is trying to gather all his people to go help Elrond, and he's giving like this speech. He says the great tale of courage is being written, and it falls to us to decide where it will. It'll end like in tragedy or in triumph. As Sauron Stoneheart, who stole the 7 smithing secrets from our forebears, forging rings to enslave us in all Middle Earth. And then we see King Durin, right? He's sitting on his throne. He takes an axe and walks off. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that, buddy? I don't want you with an axe. I don't want you with anything. Like, what are you doing with that?
I thought he was just going to go start chopping and digging.
I side-eyed the crap out of that because he had like this really weird look on his face. And I was like, oh, great. Nobody should let that man anywhere near anything with a weapon. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. So
no, and that dude can throw somebody else. He's strong.
He is. And then Durin says, fight with me so all the world can see that dwarven loyalty is a force stronger than any sorcery, which I find that very funny because at the end, that's not what we get. And I like seeing that there's so many people that are willing to fight. Like everybody wants to fight. And I love that. Finally, we see battle. We see battle and horses and badass horses, like you said, and Elrond being badass. We get right into the fight, which I love.
Me too. It's really cool because the horses are fighting, the elves are fighting. I will say this. I was not anxious like I am in some battle scenes. Later, I was more so. In this one, I really didn't feel like anybody was going to get hurt. But unfortunately, Elrond's horse does die, and that bummed me out. I was like, that sucks. But it was a good scene. I wasn't worried he was going to get hurt.
Yeah, there's people on posts saying, like, look at me being scared for Elrond when I know he's alive.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious. It's like, I know he ends up in the Undying Lands, but I'm nervous. That's just funny.
They show the Ravager really trying to take down the thinnest part of the wall, yet it's not coming down, which I think is funny. Then we see a scene with Adar and his orcs, and the one that we both think is like the hand of the king, sort of. He says many Orc are dying, and then he said, "Should we sound the retreat?" And Adar says, "Take down that wall at any cost."
Yeah, that's when I started to think. I was like, "Oh man, really?" And
you told us you loved us.
Yeah, that's what his dude says. He's like the main orc. He's like, Adar, you told us you loved us. And Adar does say something back that was cool. He says, with all that is left of my heart, too much to let you become Sauron's slaves.
And I'm like, I think they might. But,
I want to dissect that for a second. With all that is left of my heart, meaning he is incredibly damaged because of what he's gone through. But he does say, too much to let you become Sauron's slaves. So in his head right now, if orcs have to die, it's because he has one focus. If some die and the others aren't slaves, he sees that as a win. And that's a pretty drastic change from what we've seen in previous episodes.
Yes, I think
feel
so.
like it was kind of quick. It was kind of quick, but I understand it. But
well,
he does seem different in this one. But again, that's probably because he knows Sauron is close by and he really, really wants to stop him.
Yeah, anything to get rid of him. So, I get it, but that's your people that are dying.
Let me ask you this. Next, we see Galadriel has escaped.
Yeah, she's trying to be an orc.
Yeah. So we see orc funerals and they are being burned. And of course, I make a note. It says other orcs Targaryens.
I mean, I thought it was interesting how they burn their, because we've never seen this before. So it was interesting.
Again, angry people don't like this because it's giving the orcs culture. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know they were mad about that. I just knew they were mad about the love and the fact that they probably might. I mean, they care,
Yeah, they don't like the orcs having a culture. And Adar shows up, and he says, "In flames they return to darkness." Yes. Which that is a ritual. That is a burial. That is a funeral, and people don't like it at all.
That's what I mean by like the balance. Like it seems like he cares, but he wants to do what he needs to do. So it's a balance.
You know what? Wait a minute. Maybe it's a parallel to Galadriel first season when revenge takes over and it rules you instead of logic.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Okay. You know
Agreed.
what? I think it could be that. And that makes sense. Because he's known Sauron for a very long time.
Yep. So Galadriel is being followed because she watches the scene and then she's followed, and then she gets cornered by three of them. So they all three get killed by Arondir, and I thought he was very stealthy because where'd you come from?
Same.
But he saves her, so that's good. Because she's like, we need to go against Sauron because Sauron's right over there, and he says, well, I want to go after Adar. And she says, try to move against him now. The cost will be your life. And he said he can have it. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because Adar's taken everything from him. So I get it.
Yes. I'm glad she stopped him. She's basically saying, look, I get it. You have a thing. You want to kill him, but there's been a lot of death. It would really be a shame. So he's still focused on Adar. But thankfully, he doesn't just go after him right then, because I think he would have died if he was solo, because there was a lot of orcs there.
I know, I missed him. I was like, I haven't seen you for several episodes. This is not,
Yeah.
I'm not cool with this.
Where is he?
We see Durin in his armor. Well, Narvi, the guy that is the first ones to basically bend the knee to the prince. He's covered in blood, and he says that the King Durin is killed his men, and I knew it. I was like, that man with an axe. That was not a good thing.
Look, Narvi looks so freaked out. He runs in and he looks like he's in shock because he doesn't look upset. He looks just stunned. And he's like, he turned his axe on my men.
And he's going to dig.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of in Peter Jackson's trilogy when you see the Witch King of Angmar, he just has this strength. And then when you see Sauron, when they swing, multiple people are injured. It reminds me a dwarven version of that. I can just see him showing up there with his axe and just taking several people out at a time because he's so strong now.
And of course, I was thinking of Disa. So was Durin. Basically, he has to recall the army because you take the army to Region, Khazad-dûm might not be here when you return, right? And I totally, that's a tough choice. I get it. It's a tough choice. I still expected him to go.
I made a note that says, so one guy digging takes a whole army. Come on.
Well, he's going to release the Balrog. They're going to release something bad if they keep digging.
It's going to be the Balrog. Khazad-dûm is about to go through literal hell.
So then we get Celebrimbor and Anatar. Anatar says, when Middle-earth is healed and its people see what you and I did here, all our suffering will be worth it.
Man.
Our sufferings? This is where I felt like he kind of felt bad. But not really. Do you know what it is to be tortured at the hands of a god?
Look,
talking about Morgoth.
Yeah, this whole scene was a lot for me because I was like, whoa. Because Anatar says, you must know it pains me treating you and then Celebrimbor's like you treated countless others. And this shocked me. Anatar says, like Morgoth treated me.
Making himself a victim.
One thing is we get a little information that it was probably pretty damn bad. Even Celebrimbor agrees with that. I can't even imagine. But yeah, the great deceiver deceives even himself.
Yeah.
He gaslights him.
He gaslights him. He talks about a contest to see whose will was mightier with Morgoth, and then he says, since you forced me to torment you to bring them into being, the rings, I am but a victim of your obstinance, not him. I can't believe he said that. Like, I mean, can't believe he said that, but I'm like, you are, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Um,
I still love you. I still love you, but
yeah. Well, and you know how we talk about he thinks he can make order of chaos. I mean, he says, for what he wished to destroy, I wish to perfect. He's trying to say he's not Morgoth. He is delusional, for one thing, but Morgoth and Sauron are different. They are. It doesn't mean Sauron's like an angel or anything, but they are different. But he says, like, his will was stronger than Morgoth's. As far as we know in this show canon, Sauron went into like the unseen world to hide for a while Morgoth was gone. So I don't know. I don't really know about that. I think that's another thing he's just convinced himself of.
yeah, no, well, so Sauron leaves,
Mm.
and what's interesting is Celebrimbor's hearing the whispers from the rings, and he gathers up the rings and he throws it into the fire, and then he takes it back out and realizes they're not destroyed.
Mm-hmm. They're cool
And then,
to the touch, just
yep,
like in the Fellowship of the Ring when Gandalf tells Frodo, put it in the fire, and then he's like, here, and he's scared. He's like, nah, you'll find it's quite cool. Same thing. Same thing.
yep. It's really cool how
It
he's like,
is.
oh crap, and then so he gathers the ring, he puts them in a pouch, right? So obviously he's gonna try
Mm-hmm.
to find a way to get rid of them. So he can't leave, right? Because his hands are tied up in irons. So what does he do? He
Okay.
tries many ways to get out, but the last thing he does is cut off his thumb.
Okay, I do have a question about that.
Yes.
Okay, so he can't get out of the shackles. He tries, so he cuts off his thumb to get out. Why didn't he cut off his pinky? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, that's all I thought that entire scene was. Man, why didn't you go for the pinky? Why? Your thumb is really useful.
Yeah, your pinky's not at
Uh-huh.
all.
Yeah, that's my thing. We'll just chalk that up to him being brain fog because he's been under a spell. We'll just say
That and he's like, my will is mightier or
that.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you just cut off your thumb, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was just a thought I had. Like, man, just go for your pinky. Nope, hell no. The posable thumb that we've worked so long to have and sets us aside from others. But it's all right, man. That
it's
that that was it. I cringed. I was like, ooh.
it's interesting. Well, he does eventually get out, right?
He
And
does.
then
Yeah,
and then he
bleeding.
falls off. Well, because of the fireballs keep hitting the
Mm-hmm.
shit out of the place. Sorry,
Oh
language, but
yeah.
yeah.
Nah, it's
Um,
fine. I said it earlier. We're fine.
so then he falls and he's like gets knocked out for like a second, and then his guards, right? They stand over him and they say, or like they make fun of him, like he must be really out of it. Look what he did to himself. And then he says, one of them says, "You are to remain in the tower so as not to be a danger to yourself, by order of Anatar, Lord of Eregion." Which I was like, what? What?
Man, that was nuts. I was like, wow. I mean, it's gotten really deep. Lord of Eregion. I was like, okay. Well then. Well.
So deep that even poor Celebrimbor is so mind messed with that when he stands up and they're about to take him away, Galadriel comes in and he thinks she's an illusion.
Yep. Because he is so far gone. They think he's nuts. Basically, they're fighting.
Yes.
And we do get a scene that is obviously very important because Adar's like, send him in. And then the orc's like, Lord Father, he will kill our own kind. And Adar doesn't care. And I was like, send who in? I forgot, honestly, that he was even there. But it's a troll. It's a hill troll. The one we saw before, I would
Yep.
assume.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
the same one.
yeah, so the troll comes out and yeah, he steps on whoever, he knocks out whoever, and again, the orcs get killed too.
Can
So
I really like that he took up some orcs because Arondir is helping out. He's up on the wall and he's helping. And I like when the troll picks up like some bodies of orcs and he uses it like a shield.
yeah, I was like, damn. And you know what? I feel like that scene is also to show us that he's killing orcs too,
Yeah.
or
Well, he
using them,
steps on them
stepping on
too.
them. Yep.
Yeah. And
And
elves, a
so,
lot of elves.
yep. And all that is going to go towards the orcs not trusting Adar as
Oh yeah.
much.
The
Yep.
hand of the king walks away. He walks away.
Yep.
I mean, he does eventually go fight with him again, but you'll see that.
He's sad. He looks sad.
Arondir jumps onto like eventually they like knock him down. Arondir jumps on him, knocks him down. Then because we see Gilgadaddy come in too. So you have Gilgadaddy and Elrond, and they're all fighting this troll, and they end up killing him. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Did you
so
find, let me ask you something just really quick. Did you find the troll's death really creepy?
yeah, because he laughed. I don't
Why
know
did he
why.
laugh?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
thought that was.
either.
I don't get him.
I don't either, but that I found the troll's death to be unsettling, which is probably what they meant to do. But he just kept laughing. And I was like, what's he laughing at? Has he got some surprise? No. No, he's just creepy as hell.
Yeah. So that's basically, there's a lot of fighting. That's basically like the main fight. But I mean, we can get to the end of that here soon, but, there is a part that, so Galadriel has the rings and,
Mm-hmm.
Celebrimbor tells her about the ring. Well, 'cause she figures it out. She's like, oh, more rings. And, he gives it to her. And then he basically is like he's like, you get him out and you get as many people as you can out of the city. And I'm going to go face Sauron because you can hear him screaming up on the tower.
Yeah, because I would assume that's when he finds out that Celebrimbor got loose.
Yeah. And
Whew.
and he said that what I like what Celebrimbor says. He says, I built this city. My place is here. And the soldiers believe him now too, which I thought was really cool. And then when they go up to the tower, Anatar is destroying stuff, like throwing stuff around.
He's having a fit. He's
And
having a hissy fit. Little hissy fit. Anatar with the bow in his hair is having a hissy fit. It's okay. He's
he's
looking for
like,
his rings. Where are my
where are
rings?
my rings?
How
And
dare you? How dare you?
and he's like, "You're gonna give me those rings." And I like how Celebrimbor is like, "Your hand will never touch another ring again." And
Man.
I know he's so sassy now. I love it. And then the guards put him to the sword, which I thought was really cool. I have that picture on my phone because I loved it so much. And
Ooh, I knew you would.
and they said, "By order of the true Lord of Eregion, you Sauron are hereby." And then all of a sudden they stop. And
Hmm.
and Celebrimbor's like, wait, what? Wait, they stop. And he goes, Anatar says, you think it was only you who put yourself in my power. And I was like, oh no. And he starts
Mm-mm.
facing the soldiers towards each other and they stab each other to death.
Ooh-wee.
Except for the one. The one walks up to him with the sword and he kills him.
Yeah, all the army elves that came with Celebrimbor are killed. And it is a scene. It was it was a lot. Because it's like, holy shit balls. What can he not do?
He's gonna be hard to kill, that's for sure.
I mean, well, I guess that's why he endures and comes back later. Because
And
that's a lot of power.
And that's when I thought that he must control literally everybody. Like it has to be every single person in the city. Um, so,
I mean, honestly, Andrew, do you know what we're getting here? Like with
what?
his power, we're getting Darth Vader at his peak power. And then you add in literally the Scarlet Witch because he can make you see whatever you want and maintain that. And at the same time, he's also paying attention to everything that's going on outside. Like, it's like you take like all this different power. He's got all of it. He can do anything.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be very interesting to see what he does in the finale because he needs to know where those rings are. But
I have a feeling that the thing about the banner is probably going to
yes,
happen. Don't you?
yes, he's gonna be. Something's gonna happen to him next episode.
That's gonna be rough. That's gonna be bad.
Um, oh, I forgot to say. So when Gilgadaddy comes in to help them fight the troll, Elrond says, "My High King, you aren't supposed to be here." And he says, "A king's place is where he is needed the greatest." And I'm like, well, that's when I was like, I posted on my threads. I said, "You're the true king."
Wasn't that cool?
He's so cool. That was his like only. No, he had 2 lines. He told the troll to go back to your hill and be buried.
Yeah, and to have like a couple lines, but like make that much of an impression.
I loved him so much. He was just so good.
He looked
And
great.
so this is where the point that Adar is going to fight now, and he has his children fight with him. And the light, the sun starts coming up, and Elrond's like, "It's okay, it's okay. Durin's coming. It's okay. We're gonna be fine."
It's so
Nope.
sad. It's so sad because he's trying to tell everybody to hold on, and there's not many left. He's like, Durin will be here. Durin will be here. Even though the guy that was sent to meet Durin comes back with arrows, and he's like, he's not coming. Elrond still thinks Durin will show.
And a lot of people are calling him delusional, and I'm like, no, I would have believed it too. I mean, it's not delusional to think an old friend would come for you, and he doesn't. And I really wanted him to. I was hoping, but I knew it wasn't going to happen.
Okay, well, I have something to say to those delusional people that think he's that. I think he thought that Durin was delayed. Like, okay, yes, I do believe you that something's going on, but he'll be here. It's just going to be a little later, which
And
is
he won't.
not delusional. That's
No,
not
it's
delusional
not.
at all. And he needed hope. My God, how many elves were left at that point? 10?
Like a handful. Seriously, a handful. It's bad.
Yeah, because Gilgadaddy is like taking charge. He knows nobody's coming to help, and he's like, form ranks, and there's 12 elves.
Yeah, there's him, there's Arondir, their own elves, Elrond. That's literally it. And that's when, the title comes into play, Doomed to Die. Like, they're basically like, well, we're going to probably die, but we need to defend this wall, Because the wall, by the way, still hasn't been taken down. How is that the thinnest part of the wall and it still hasn't been taken down? I don't know.
Apparently thin is rather thick for an elf. And
I mean, eventually...
that sounded bad.
I mean,
I'm
eventually...
leaving that in. I'm leaving that in. I'm just Jesus Christ. Thin is thick for an elf. God.
Well, I would hate to see what their thickness of the wall looks like. I really would.
Wall thickness. We're talking about wall. Wall of Eregion. Damn it. Go ahead.
But, so eventually it does come down, but, yeah, so you see Gilgadaddy fight, you see, Arondir. Oh my God, Arondir. Okay. So they focus on him for a bit, and he like takes out his bow and arrow, and then obviously that gets knocked down. So then he starts using his sword. Well, then he goes against Adar, which I was like, I cried because I was like, I know that this is gonna it's gonna be bad because he stabs him more than once, and I'm just like, no. I mean, I love Adar. I will always love Adar, but I don't want anybody to be killed that I love. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. But the gasp that I made, I yelled at the TV. I was like, no. My mouth was covered. I was like, I can't.
I was shocked. I was very shocked. I did not see that happening. Adar gets at least 2 very deep stabs into the air. Yeah, he stabs him in like the gut area, and you hear it. And I was cringing. I was like, No.
Oh,
I
I was
hate
so
it when an
emotional.
elf gets hurt. I don't like it when elves get hurt. I
Especially
love
one
the
like
elves.
that. Like, he's so nice and he cares deeply about people, and it just, ew. I mean, he's there
Hey, he got to
helping
cut
them.
in though. He got to cut in. He cut Adar. He got a good stab into him.
Yes, he did. That's the only good thing I can say about it. Even though I love Adar too, Jesus, he's really good on the battlefield. And
Hell
then
yeah.
well, and then we see him go to Elrond, because Elrond's just still sitting there waiting for. He's just in shock, like, obviously,
Yep.
because his friend never came. I really liked the scene because
He tried.
it was kind of dark, but he just he didn't kill him though. He took Nenya from him, and he does say that never make war in anger. And I'm like, but that's what you're doing. And then, but I do like that he says never make war in anger, even though that's literally what he's doing. So, but they breach the wall and the orcs go over, and that's basically how they end it. And I just kind of stared at the screen for a while.
Same in my ADHD brain. When Adar said never make war in anger, I immediately thought, wow, he's almost quoting Oasis. Don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger, man. That's where my brain went. And so Adar has Nenya, which is creepy. And then it ends. What did you think about the music that played in the credits?
It was like, what, heavy metal sounding?
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Is that because Adar just basically won the battle, or what?
I don't know, but do you want to know what the note I put?
What?
I said, ask Andrea if this is orc grunge rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And they took over the city, and I think we're going to get. I think we're going to. Now, this is what I think we're going to see next episode. Obviously, we're going to see the aftermath of the battle, and I think we're going to see some of the visions that Galadriel saw. So, like the statue being taken down, and Elrond with something around his neck.
Yep. We're going to have. I mean, like, we've got a lot in the next episode. We don't know what Tom and Gandalf have been doing. We don't know.
Oh, we're going to get them too.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think next episode is going to be so much. It's going to be a lot because obviously Dark Wizard, Gandalf, and we're going to see the Stores and the Harfoots trying to fight the Easterlings, and Tom and Gandalf. I guess he'll get his Gand. And I would assume, please
I
just
hope
tell us
so.
it's Gandalf. Please just tell us it's Gandalf, man.
All right, yeah, I
Please.
don't want to wait till next season, because
I
that's
don't
2 years from
either.
now.
I got too many people I want to irritate.
We're
I
going to
got
get the
way too
Balrog
many.
too next episode.
Hell yeah.
So that's a lot.
We have to see Kevin. You know we're going to see Kevin at least once.
God, I don't like him.
Nobody does, man. He sucks ass. Like he is the most unlikable character on the show. Yeah, I stand by
Yes.
that. I stand by
Yes.
that. Yeah,
Me too.
definitely. This episode, it was good. It was a lot. There were some writing choices that I was kind of confused about. Like Adar seemed to make a change pretty quick, and there's a couple things that puzzled me. But all in all, it was a good episode, and I want to give it 7.5 out of 10. That's what I want to give it.
The only issues I really had was just Adar's situation, but I still really loved the episode. I loved the look of it. I loved, and of course, I always want to say I love Anatar. I think him and Celebrimbor have like the best chemistry right now. Although
Yep.
that kiss between Elrond and Galadriel, I'm gonna give it a probably a 9.5.
I think there was definitely chemistry there, and I will say this, and I have seen other people say it. Charlie Vickers, who plays Sauron, he's carrying this. He better get an award.
That body language of his, that episode, I swear, it was just, I can't wait to see more of it, because it's perfect. He's so good.
He's good.
As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners and to ask that if you liked this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com, and the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back-and-forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.